Thank you so much.
Yeah, and our next speaker is Frode Hegland. He's working with the Future of Text, or he's working with Future of Text project. In particular, his specialties are metadata and the XR environments. And this is what his newspaper presentation will be about today. So we're looking forward to that.
Thank you, Klaus. I am just ridiculously happy to be here. I just have to say hello because part of it is hidden on my screen. Just one time I'm going to use PhD after my name because of you. So thank you, Klaus. Right, yeah, my name is Frode Hegland. I'm interested in the future of text. I think we can do a lot more with text. I have three main interests: how we connect and follow connections, how we view and interact with information, and then what metadata and systems are required to make that possible. Metadata, I define as any data that says what data is, so let's not waste time on that demonstration. I'll be doing demonstrations in my macro software reader and author, and at the end with some relevance to what Dini and I and the rest of the Future Text Lab are doing in XR. So first, the traditional thing, copy from reader, paste to author as a citation, which I think illustrates some super simple metadata principles. So in reader, normal PDF, select, and then you choose copy as quotes. You go over to author, you paste, and then paste as a proper citation, not just plain text. I think that is super important that you can copy meaningful objects in different places. If you click on it, you can see the metadata that was there about what you're copying. This is possible because the original PDF contained an appendix saying what it is. So that's the main principle, and David Miller, thank you for helping with my PhD, which is essentially saying it's important, write it down. So if you have metadata, write it at the back of the document, don't just hide it. That's the entire thing, right? So in this dialogue now, this is new, released today. Thank you guys for making me the deadline. You can copy the citation from one document to another easily, so you can have a research document and a final paper document. And here's the really new one. You can click to open the original PDF. I think that is super cool because we just use the name of the document as the linking mechanism. It's on your computer, so if you change it, it's up to you. This is not for sharing. If you've done some research, you want to see the original, right? Important to note, this metadata doesn't have to be originally published with the document. The reader software can find out the metadata for you in ways that I can tell you without wasting time right now. Then you'd export, and now you can have all kinds of good stuff, including extra metadata. So if you see the little citation number 2 there, ACM style, you can now, and thank you Mark Anderson for forcing me to do this in the nicest possible way, click on it to see the information. Now, if you have the original PDF, excellent paper, you should all read it. You can click on it to open that if it's on your system. So this is a very simple linking mechanism. And now to how we view and interact with information. Colors for calm eyes. This is basically what started my paper for today. So I want to go from accessibility to personalized for everybody. So we have this gray column of text. We've been experimenting with making it a little less contrast, it's better on the eyes. Of course, we've also had the warmer view, which is better in many ways. Of course, we have to counter that with a cold view. It depends on what you're doing. This is the big thing. This is only about 2 weeks old. I'm so excited to show you this. It's the most ridiculously simple thing. It's taken me 20 years to get to this, okay? Gray columns of text. Text is a visual medium when you look at a word or a sentence. It is not visual when you're looking at a whole chunk of text. It's entirely unvisual. When I wrote my thesis, that was an absolute pain, because you're not allowed to use a lot of headings, which makes sense. So how in the world can I find out if I am repeating myself, what the structure is, what the sequence is? If I bold it, I have to get rid of the bolds and export, because too many bolds is also a noise. So I came up with this thing. Select text that represents what's in the paragraph, and mark the text bold orange. So that's it. And yeah. Fireworks, I'm so excited about this. So the thing is, you now have a skimmable piece of text. And these marks, as I call them, name checking markers there. When you export, they are not there. You have a choice of how to use this. We've been arguing in the community for the last week over this. You can either entirely remove that text, so you can actually write notes to yourself, like, this is where I introduce nonsense, or whatever it is, when you export it. Or you can choose, when you export it, only remove the styling. So that means if you highlight paragraphs, or sentences in paragraphs, they will just lose the bold and the orange on the export. If you're nodding heads, wonderful. How to mark? Very quick. Select the text you want to mark. Control click. Most of the things in my system is control click. Or you do command single quote and you get the mark of the text. Right. So to combine the colors for calm and for clarity, I thought I'd do it in dark mode because the system supports dark mode if you're in dark mode. So here you can see the orange with the other colors, and you can choose what is most skimmable for your eyes. Views, briefly. This is the first view. It's folding the document into an outline. All you need to do is select text, define it as a heading, so you get this. And lo and behold, the marked text shows up too. So it's another way to fold and unfold a document for scalability. We also have a thing called escape key to go in and out of full screen. It sounds like a detailed feature. I found it extremely useful. You can concentrate and go back on the desktop with just a single click. You can also easily change the width of the margins now, so change the type size. I think that is quite important. And details I won't go into, but you can jump margin notes down if you want to. So when you're working on a big screen, you can have all kinds of stuff on the sides that's related, cuttings, etc. Many little features that if you're interested in the software, and of course, I'll give you a promo code for free if you're here today. You absolutely deserve that for listening calls. Finally, there's a map view, which is for defining connections and seeing the connections. So here are some of the basic concepts around this, so there are not too many. Most graph, knowledge graph management system will have everything connected all the time. I find that difficult to literally relate to. So the notion here is you select something, one or more items, and will only show you the connection going from that item to other items. So you choose what to see. The way the relationship is established is you can do Command D or Control click to define, hit a dialog where you just write in normal plain English or whatever language you want. And if you include something that has a defined concept, as in the augmented text company, it'll be bold. So that's an implicit link, that's why the line is there. Also, while we're here, you can actually click on that to jump on that. So there are many ways you can go through the most basic knowledge connection system to get that right. So, believe it or not, this is the end of the presentation. You have to freeze on export. That is the convention. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you're stuck in your own world. So we have to conform to established practice. The way we're dealing with that is, first of all, as I mentioned, the marks are removed, and the citations are correctly formatted, and the defined concepts that you just saw are presented as a glossary. So it's literally just a list, because that is what the conventions allow us to do, and that's fine. So we can do that with the PDF, we also have other formats, and thank you again to Mark. We have the beginnings of LaTeX exports, which for this session today is quite helpful, because you can't do just a LaTeX export. It's based on templates, it's based on programming, it's based on language, it's based on all kinds of nonsense. So instead, what you can do, you copy bits from here and you put it into your overlay or whatever you're doing. You can copy the BibTeX as one big chunk. We've done that because it will be referred to correctly. Still, you need some knowledge of LaTeX to use it, but it's useful. I would think on the LaTeX, if you can alter, you have an option under paste to paste raw LaTeX. So if you've done a maths equation or something in another piece of software, you can put it in. Here's just text. So when you export it, you get all your nice formatting for specific use. Right, so in conclusion, we still need to consider how we view and interact with text, even on frozen documents. So that means we need to consider what metadata and systems are required. This goes back to putting what's important about the document at the end. So I have two slides on this. The first one is this approach of unlocking rich interaction with other software by having a lot of stuff in the back. The first thing that you saw was self-citations, which is how to cite that document. It took us a long time to decide on that title, it's a bit old. References, which are citations to other documents document, so you can easily extract what this document leads to. We've also been playing with having the entire HTML version of the document in the appendix, because for a lot of uses you don't want PDF. There's no question about that. So for that, the PDF is almost like a postage stamp. You don't really need to look at the beginning bit to extract the raw HTML. And in a modern PDF, if you just put it nicely in a single column, it is extractable. A lot of earlier PDFs just fall. That's at least in the previous talk, spatial coordinates could be just popped in here. It's something we're experimenting with. Hopefully you will see it by demo tomorrow, etc., etc., etc. The point is, most data is text. So why not put the text in the document in a way that's accessible? One thing that is really important from one of our community is the notion of doing all kinds of things with AI, and then putting that in the document as a separate appendix, where you say what AI engine was used, when it was used, where it was used from, what the prompt was. That means that not only do you have instantly accessible results from that AI, you can get rid of it. It doesn't in any way impact the rest of the data, and you can choose to update it in the future. I think that's really important. And then finally, the metadata about who you are is really, really important. Who you are in knowledge, who you are in the space. Half of this is sensory, visual, haptic, auditory. I showed you the basic color things. There's obviously a whole world beyond that. Because I really don't like the term accessibility. I think the notion is very important, but I think we should work on it for everyone. Because we all are slightly neurodivergent, at least in this room, and I say that with love, right? We all have different ways that our eyes are preferring how to view colors. We shouldn't be saying, well, you're in a box for you, we'll deal with you, forget the rest. No, it needs to be much more detailed. What you've seen today is just a tiny bit. And then the mental side, we have had dreams for a long time of the systems knowing more about who we are. Don't tell me stuff that I already know. So in addition to the journal in author, which you get with Command J, it's just a normal author document that didn't way so you don't delete it by accident. We just recently introduced ideas and inspiration document. Option Command I, for those who care about that. The idea there is, in a journal, it might be time-based, but in this other one, if you see something, you put a quote in there, it's like a scrapbook of ideas. It's not trying to be Notion or Rome or anything, boxy connected, super special. But over time, you will write down your own ideas that maybe you will like them, maybe not, maybe your insights, maybe meaning of life is coffee or whatever it might be. And that's nice, but what I'm hoping to get to the next stage is for the user, when they are using what we call Ask AI, which is ChatGPT integration. They select text, and they do something like, what else should I write about this? They can choose to have that knowledge base of what they have written in that document be used as the prompts. So it would then send it to whatever service we're using, saying, considering all these things about me, what should the result be of this question? So you are feeding the prompts just by telling your own system personally what you want. And of course, my company doesn't get any of that, shouldn't. You have to choose whether you trust the AI provider to do that. So the future of text is X-ray text, obviously. XR, ER, AR text. And beyond everything, like Lisa was talking about, it is the chance to dream again. So much of this stuff we see in these communities have been done before, but it didn't happen. Now we have an excuse for people to say, oh, this is new, we can dream again. But we must provide the data which can enable interactions. Otherwise, we are producing dummy dummies. And finally, we must move with the speed of relevance. I heard that on the BBC last week as part of a presentation. It turns out it's a military phrase. The speed of relevance. If we as a community don't move at the speed of relevance, companies will own all of this stuff. And of course, we'll need real dialogue to succeed. So that's why I'm on the future of text. Dini and I are hosting the future of text in beautiful Washington. Please join us if you can. And also, we're publishing the next volume of the future of text, volume 5. We have a demo tomorrow. When I get up the stage here, I'll actually leave this if you want to see what we're doing tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I see a few hands. Thank you. So excited to see it moving forward and X-ray text from there. Just a few points I think that will be helpful. We usually talk these days about universal design as opposed to accessibility, and that
I think that if people search for that term, they'll find the kind of things you're talking about, and it will move forward much faster. Secondly, I see so much material about design of printed text. I'm wondering, and highlighting sentences and phrases and paragraphs is something I've done for a long time. So I'm wondering if there's an untapped expertise in another field that we haven't found, where people already know this, although obviously not the more important part, which is future of text, XR, doing it online, and so on. So I just want to put those out there right now while we're all together.
Thank you for that phrase, Jamie. When it comes to, I talk about literally moving the text out of the little box. So far with our work, what we found is we desperately want to do that, no question, but also we desperately want to keep text really readable and legible. So we're experimenting with different distances. When you are reading a specific thing, you probably need a paragraph, you probably need to scan traditionally. But that doesn't mean that when you pull things out or when you have overviews, we should be stuck to that. This is the very, very beginning of the long term. Oh no. Charlie, yes.
Charlie, that's next.
It's interesting stuff. There's some nice things here. My own work and our own work on authoring stuff says that being able to help authors visually organise their work with colour and structure and things like that is undeniably useful. So I like that. I remain sceptical of the XR text thing, but we'll leave that for another day. I'm looking forward to you proving me wrong. But what I wanted to ask was, what is the real difference here between this and conventional annotation systems? So annotation systems, highlighting things in colour, having a comment, even semantic connections, if you go back to the semantic web, have been done before. And I'm not saying that those things aren't useful, okay? But I want you to tell me, what is the Frode Hegland new and exciting thing?
Thank you, I think. I can fully recognize being a tiny person in the big world, so I'm trying to change as little as possible. I think change is likely, but it's also very expensive, very hard. So I try to use every single infrastructure that exists. Like when you copy across metadata, I use the BibTeX standard because it exists. Right? That's continuously what we do. And this is something we talk about in our Monday Future of Text Lab calls. What I try to do is to, a little bit of reading and all that stuff, but to try to make tiny differences, like linking based on a document thing. Most people say, oh, it's horrible, it's not stable, all that. I agree. But it kind of works, and it's kind of useful. So I'm trying to do things that are kind of useful to hopefully infuse the idea that we can expect more from our tools. And when it comes to XR text, we'll be taking a headset on you very soon and talk about it. There are so many different things. Like Lisa had a slide of just 2 boring windows. Thank you for showing that. Imagine all of these panels had useful text on it. That's the beginning, right? And the issue with it, and also Lisa, thank you for highlighting it. Cognition begins from the body and the physical mind, right? If you have text floating around, you don't want to bump into it. The physicality of it becomes very strong. So it's a very important thing to investigate, and it's way beyond obvious. Oh, come on, one more.
Yeah, I think we have time for one more question.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I can't comment too much on the practical of what you're seeing, because obviously I came in halfway through, but I thought you said something quite pertinent when talking about moving the speed of relevance. About how if we don't move quickly enough, companies will take over. I think we see in other fields like AI, to a degree, the web, the hypertext sphere, that they move very quickly, they move quite unsafely, and it creates genuine problems for researchers. For example, in the webcomics workshop yesterday, we were talking about how a lot of companies have now changed their terms of service to prevent AI scraping, and that hurts certain forms of research. Do you have any plans or strategies or solutions for kind of balancing moving forward at the speed of relevance while being careful in development and kind of not having the same problems that companies have when they take over the spaces?
I will try to answer that. I'm wearing a Macintosh t-shirt. I bought this at the 40th anniversary of the Mac. I was there with Chris Horn and Bill Atkinson, and I love to name drop when it's someone amazing. I can't believe I spent the day with them because they literally changed the world. Right now, Apple's got all kinds of problems politically. I don't agree with most of what they do. A lot of what they do is closed. The fact that those two frames that you showed in space, they own those coordinates, right? The most important thing, I think, is to wake up people to the potential of the future of things. To say this is shit. This should be more open. You know, earlier today talked about how to move the information around. We can't do that. You know, literally, what's the point? So that's why I like PDF because it exists and we can smuggle all kinds of things in. Okay, question?
I'm afraid we have to move on to the last one because we're running late, and this is actually kind of ways to introduce our last talk for today.